Good evening, everyone. It is January 16, 2024, and we are at the Howell Council regular meeting. I would like to call the meeting to order.
This meeting is being held in accordance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act. Adequate notice has been provided in the manner prescribed by law. This agenda is complete to the extent known, and formal action will be taken. I'll begin with a roll call. Councilwoman Fisher?
Here.
Councilman Gager?
Here.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Here.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Present. Is there any reason for us to go into executive session this evening, Mr. Clark?
Yes, Mayor, we have legal settlement to discuss and various other matters pertaining to property, negotiations, contract, and attorney-client.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry that we're a couple minutes late. Please forgive us. I'd like to reconvene the meeting. Today is January 16, 2024. We just finished executive session. So I would like to have a motion to reconvene the meeting.
Motion to reconvene?
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can we please stand for a pledge of allegiance and then a moment of silence for our fallen heroes? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. At this time, we have two presentations. One, Krista Riddle, for ordinance 23-8, smoking enforcement update and opioid settlement spending. She's our alliance coordinator. Please come up. Love the hair.
Thank you.
That's okay.
Okay,
Good evening, everybody. I'm here, I'm going to take a few minutes of your time for two important updates. So I'm Krista Riddle, as you heard, I'm the Alliance Coordinator. For those of you unfamiliar, the Howell Alliance oversees substance use prevention and mental health awareness initiatives. And we do public education and collaboration, and programs with the police department, the schools, and community members. So first, I'm going to present on the opioid settlement agreement funds report. Last time I reported was July 18th. And what we do in Howell to provide transparency with the spending of the money that we're getting, I'm reporting to council and administration several times a year. Council and administration have the report, but I'm just going to kind of go over it briefly so the public is aware of the money coming in, what we're doing with it, and if anyone has any suggestions on the spending. So between my two reports, I was actually proudly selected by New Jersey Department of Human Services as part of a three-person panel. I was the only Alliance Coordinator statewide to participate in the New Jersey League of Municipalities on this, the funding. I sat on the panel for the opioid abatement, state updates and ideas for subdivision spending. It was a great honor. That was in November, so related to this. So some key stipulations of the opioid settlement agreement fund spending are all expenditures must be compliant with the terms set forth by the national criteria and the state, particularly the schedule entitled approved uses, so we have to make sure everything complies. We do a report annually by September 1st to the New Jersey Department of Human Services to document our spending and money left over. And then there's another report due February 16th each year, and that is actually for another opioid abatement trust. Funds received will be paid annually through 2038 to all municipalities and counties that are participating. The Janssen settlement will pay annually through 2031 in differing amounts. This year, since the last report, we've received $14,179.83 for the Janssen settlement, $20,125.88 for the Maine settlement, and we received $9,484.38 for the Note 2, which is a separate settlement. Let's see what else. The balance in Howell's opioid settlement agreement of fund account to date is $29,249.69, and we are projected in 2024 to receive $27,254.98 for the main settlement and $22,481.92 for the Janssen settlement. Unspent funds can be accumulated and carried year over year, as long as we report. And there may be additional settlements coming our way, as well as to the other participating municipalities and the counties and states. So our strategic plan in Howell is to report at council meetings on the settlement agreement, so we are transparent with funding. A lot of lives have been lost and families affected due to the opioid crisis, and so this way we are keeping everybody informed who has been affected as to what we're doing with the money. A lot of towns may be misappropriating it and using it for things that aren't related, so we want to make sure we are transparent in what we're doing and spending it in ways that are fair to the people affected. We're implementing targeted, effective, and evidence-based opioid misuse and abuse prevention programs across community populations, from preschoolers through to our seniors, in collaboration with the school, police, and other organizations and community partnerships. We work with the Howell Police to assist populations vulnerable to substance use and mental health issues, with consideration to the link between substance use disorders and criminal activity and recidivism. We are also working with Howell Public Schools and the Howell High School to reach students and parents for prevention and life skills programs. Without the partnerships, it would be impossible for us to implement programs and have people come and attend them. And then we collaborate with community organizations and professionals to implement in-house alliance prevention programs tailored to our community and the specific needs here that we get through data. Recent collaborative projects we've done with our funding: we finished the vape detector installations in the middle school and high school bathrooms. We funded Kevin Brooks' Just Wiggle Your Toes decision-making and substance use prevention presentation at Howell High School. We do mental health support warnings, actions, and resources community presentations. We did one for September as Suicide Prevention Month. Tackling opioids through prevention is, we did student club presentations at Howell High School to let young athletes know the dangers of, taking opioids and alternatives to that. Hidden in plain sight, we put together a parent and staff education kit with vaping and substance use paraphernalia to familiarize school staff and parents with what things look like today, because it can be pretty tricky to identify. We bought Throw In No substance abuse prevention interactive activity balls for middle schools and for community events. And we are putting out flyers on Super Bowl Sunday through the pizzerias to give substance use and mental health resources to people in the community that may need it. When they pick up their order or it's delivered to the house, they'll have that flyer. And I do want to give a shout out to the 3 pizzerias willing to participate, which are Capricci's, Red Moon, and Corsi's. So we appreciate their support. And quickly, future projects we are planning with the funding in Howell. We want to implement and provide BOTVIN life skills training parent program, which is evidence-based, to all preschool parents. Once the pre-K program is at university capacity and up and running, that'll give us a pipeline to the parents and help people learn how to parent, these days. Implement further Howell Police Department collaborative projects to reach at-risk populations. There we would be addressing substance use and mental health and the link with criminal activity. And also we're providing Narcan to follow up calls for overdoses at the house afterward. We want to expand our Project Medicine Drop and other existing prevention projects to limit access to unused medications, which is often the first time that people will misuse opioids. And then also to bring some 12-step support programs into Howell. We don't believe we have any here, so we'd like to encourage 12-step programs to come in, such as Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, and Codependents Anonymous, to help our residents have easy access to these programs. And then just quickly, we have updated our smoking ordinance in Howell. It is entitled Smoking in Public Places, Electronic Smoking Device Use and Sales, and Tobacco Sales. The ordinance was adopted by council in April, and we are starting enforcement this month. So I want people to be aware of what that means. We did this to address the youth vaping epidemic and the illegal sale of flavored products and underage sales. Flavored e-cigarette products, all of them have been banned federally and at the state level. They were banned in New Jersey in April of 2020, so we're making sure stores are compliant. They are everywhere, and our job's going to be to, weed that out, because that's how youth get started with a lifetime addiction to nicotine. It's usually flavored e-cigarette products. We're going to be enforcing smoking on public property and in public places, no matter what is being smoked. It doesn't matter if it's an electronic cigarette, traditional combustible cigarette, marijuana, tobacco, whatever it is. It won't be sent out for testing. If you're smoking in public places that are delineated in the ordinance, there will be violations. And then we are requiring our e-cigarette retail licensors in our e-cigarette retailers to have a license as of this year. So it's an annual license they have to apply for. It's $1,000, and they have to have that license to sell any kind of e-cigarette products. So just to give you an idea of the fines, smoking on public property, $250 for the first offense, $500 for the second offense, and $1,000 for third and subsequent offenses. If someone completes a nicotine and tobacco recovery program at the discretion of Judge Clark, the first fine may be waived the first time to encourage people to get a smoking cessation program under their belt. Police and code enforcement officers will start going around to the e-cigarette retailers, and it will be selling products to people under 21, selling any kind of flavored products, and not having a license. The fines are, for the retailers, $1,000 for the first offense, $1,500 for the second offense, $2,000 for third and subsequent offenses. Any establishment with 2 violations a year or 5 total violations is subject to permanent license revocation by council vote. And just in general, as I said before, all flavored products are banned, so that's going to be the main focus of this for our youth. So I appreciate everyone's time, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Krista. Our second presentation is on the resource engineering settlement.
Oh, there is. Here, Frank. Mayor, did you want me to start with this? Did you want
I'm
me to
sorry.
start, Mayor?
Yes,
Okay,
please.
thank you. Thanks, Brad. My name is Jerry Dasty. I'm a I'm a litigation attorney representing the township on special matters. And I, along with our administrator and Matt Cahill and your in-house attorney, have been involved with negotiations with the potential developer of a transfer station in town. And I want to try to give you first a little bit of history, and then we'll explain what this means to the township in terms of what we believe to be a good benefit. And then the representatives of the developer are here to show you what it's going to look like. I think they have a PowerPoint demonstration to show you. This started back in 2017 or 2018 when a transfer station was being proposed by this developer on the same property where it's now presumably going to be located. I went through a series of public hearings, negotiations, and now eventually litigation, whereby the developer sued the county freeholders and the Monmouth County SWAC, which is the Solid Waste Advisory Commission. Every county has an advisory commission which usually makes recommendations on these types of facilities to the freeholder board or commissioners. Originally, Howell Township was not part of that lawsuit. We had to file a motion to intervene because we wanted to be part of that lawsuit. We wanted to make certain that if something were to occur, it would be, in terms of construction, it would be in the best interest of the town, the taxpayers, and the people who live near this facility. We've been going through rather intense negotiations and settlement discussions for a little over a year. And we think we're ready now to present to the council and to the public what we believe is a good settlement for the township. And keep in mind this: if we don't resolve this to our satisfaction, that doesn't mean it goes away. the developer still makes application to the county and thereafter the DEP to get a transfer station. And if they're successful, if they can show that there's a need for it in this part of the county and they're approved, that approval might be without all of what we believe to be the positive benefits for the township. So you're going to see, and Joe Clark, your administrator, will go over more of the financial benefits to the town, but you're going to see that there would be a proposed a transfer station, which is not a dump. This will not involve any household standard garbage, nothing that would putrefy, nothing that would degrade. It's going to be what we call type 13 waste, which is concrete, which is building materials, that kind of thing. That would be inside a fully enclosed building. When the trucks come, they go into the building, they dump it in the building, and they leave. So everything will be inside. There will be also an office accompanying the transfer station, but only used for the transfer station. It won't be rented out to any third party for the office. The building would be constructed according to the upgraded stormwater regulations, which are required by the DEP. It will be properly landscaped pursuant to the township code so that we think it'll be sufficiently buffered and sheltered. We've gone through, like I said earlier, quite a long settlement discussions. We have what I think is a 12 or 13 page agreement, which if the township council agrees to it this evening, it will become a court order and it will be enforced. Assuming that we are able to achieve that tonight, it's not over, but we would still be interested in the applications made by the developer to SWAC, to the commissioners, and to the DEP to make sure that what we've agreed to is part of that application, and nothing would waver from what the settlement that we expect to receive. Joe, do you want to take it from there in terms of the financial?
Yeah, sure. We can skip over the background because we've just kind of gone through most of that. So we can take a look at the 2018 sort of proposal versus what we have now in 2023 after, as Jerry said, a year of negotiations. So I'm also going to point out that in 2018, we had a very different development landscape in front of us. This was at a time when there was 1 million square feet of warehouse proposed for a parcel on Randolph Road, which was right down the street from there, which was going to substantially add a number of trucks to the overall project. That has since gone away, and the zoning has since changed. So we are in a position now where we're able to more accurately account for and agree to certain things that have been presented to us. So in 2018, we had less control over the project. We were looking, the representation from what I've been able to see was there would be approximately 150 trucks per day, in addition to trucks from other proposed development in the surrounding area, which would have been substantial. It was anticipated that approximately 1,500 tons of type 13 and 13C material would be processed on site daily. Some of the material might be coming from adjoining municipalities outside of Monmouth. Resource would signalize the intersection at 547 and Randolph at their own cost. They would pay Howell 50 cents a ton under state law per ton for type 13 and 13C. As what's called in the law, a host community benefit. And the total host community benefit under the 2018 proposal would be approximately $215,000 a year. Under the 2023 settlement, we have gotten very granular with what we're looking at. So, for example, the transfer station building is approximately 36,000 square feet, so we have control over the size. Resource will construct approximately 8,000 square feet of office space on the site for its own use. This is similar to the previous proposal, but the office space will be used solely for Resources operations. It won't be let, sublet, or otherwise made available to any other businesses. The project is anticipated to generate an average of 80 truck trips per day, which is an increase of 30 from the current average of 50. The project will only handle type 13 and 13C waste, as those terms are defined in the NJ admin code. And if you look there, you will see that it includes household appliances and construction debris. It does not include food scrap, waste, putrescible materials, anything that's capable of rotting, the type of thing that you might consider that would end up in a landfill typically and stink up the joint. So all trucks carrying 13 and 13C solid waste will load and unload inside the building. So there will be no outside loading or unloading of trucks except for the mulch processing portion of the facility. That currently operates. We see it when we pass by it on Randolph Road. They're currently processing approximately 68,000 tons of brush and topsoil and all of that right now. The wood recycling portion of the facility will be trimmed back, and it's only going to handle the following type 23 materials as that's defined in the admin code, which will be stumps, branches, and brush. They will reduce the processing of those stumps, branches, and brush to 50% of its current level. Yardages will be reported annually by Resource to the township. No material will be accepted from Ocean County or municipalities, within Ocean County. The project won't process any other type of solid waste, which includes foodstuffs, normal household trash, any putrescible material, asbestos, and the like. The project will be open 5.5 days a week, Monday through Saturday. It'll be Friday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., half-day Saturday. Resources agreed to install an appropriate underground filtration system to handle stormwater and other liquid generated by the project. They will signalize the intersection at 547 in Randolph. The traffic signal will be completed prior to the project accepting any of the Class C recyclables. Class C recyclables, again, being the type 13 and 13C waste. Next page. Resource will pay the township a host community benefit fee of $5 per ton of material processed at the project, which is 10 times higher than previously proposed. So we've gone from 50 cents a ton to $5 a ton. That fee shall increase 2% per year, adjusted on January 1st, for as long as the project is in operation. Under state law, the host community benefit is paid quarterly. Resource anticipates an average of approximately 680 tons a day. This is less than what was originally anticipated in 2018. It equates to a tonnage of approximately 196,000 a year. And so the totally anticipated host community benefit will jump from 215,000 to about $950,000 payable to the township. In addition, the waste transfer station will be taxed at its normal valuation per the tax assessor. The resource shall submit tonnage reports to the township with each quarterly payment, and all other materials required by DEP as part of its reporting requirements. We have the right to conduct an audit of resources tonnage reports upon 10 days written notice to them. From the date that they begin construction of the project until we issue a CO, Resource has agreed to accept brush waste from the township at a 50% discount off of Resource's current published rates as another benefit to Howell. After we issue a CO for the project, Resource has agreed to accept 1,000 tons of our type 13 and 13C waste that we may get at our bulk pickup and drop-off, in addition to 5,000 tons of brush each year from the township free of charge as a benefit to Howell. This is anticipated to save us approximately $80,000 to $100,000 per year at current prices. They've agreed, again, not to accept type 13 or 13C materials from Ocean County. they will contribute $50,000 to the township's open space fund, which we will use in a manner consistent with the fund's purpose. It's going to be paid in 5 payments over a 5-month period after the CO for the station is issued. We happen to own a parcel of land that is sort of locked within Resources' broader parcel. So we will talk to them whether or not they may be interested in acquiring that lot. And if so, whether or not it is permissible under state law. It looks like we are able to do a private sale of that parcel because it satisfies some of the various requirements. Next page, access to and from the project will be achieved primarily through the use of Route 9, 547, and 195. Resource has agreed that truck traffic will be required to exit left out of the project so that trucks reach 547 quickly at the signalized intersection and then can proceed out of Howell expeditiously. The township, again, will monitor Resources applications to SWAC, county commissioners, and DEP. We reserve the right to object to them if the project presented to any of those entities differs materially from that which we envision in the settlement. And then in the event that Resource breaches the agreement, the township is entitled to exercise any and all rights and remedies that may be available in equity, which means injunctive relief, or under the laws of the state of New Jersey. So that is the project in a nutshell. And as envisioned in this agreement, we feel it's better for the township and its taxpayers because, among other things, it obviously greatly enhances the host community benefit. It signalizes a busy intersection, which is approximately $1 million. It minimizes the negative impact by processing only non-putrescible waste, so you're not going to get that rotten odor. It does not substantially add to vehicle transits. Once upon a time, I think there was some notion that there was going to be 500 trucks or more a day on site. We now know that that actual number is going to be substantially lower. It assists in recycling type 13 and 13C waste and puts it back into infrastructure projects. I'm sure Resource will point out that the global demand for that type of reprocessed waste is skyrocketing. It's in a non-residential area. We have more control over the project, given the terms of the agreement. It enhances our rateable base, and it represents an overall more beneficial endeavor to the township than the prior project. So that is where we are. At this point, then, we can bring up Resources PowerPoint, and they can go through their materials.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Frank Vitolo. I'm with the law firm of Sills, Cummins & Gross. I am the attorney for Resource Recycling. After looking at those settlement terms, I'm lucky I still have a job. I do want to thank you for your patience and your focus on this. This has been from my perspective, a 5-year, but even longer process. And I believe that the settlement terms that you've just seen strikes a really nice balance and provides Howell with the benefit, a lot of benefits, and it also finally allows us to move forward, hopefully with this project. As Mr. Dasty and Mr. Clark said, we do have further steps to take, SWAC, the county, and then finally DEP. But we are we look forward to working hand in hand. As you heard, you'll continue to be involved in this process as we move forward. And so to get you acclimated with the project, give you an overview how the thing works, we have with us this evening Pat Ward. He's from Insight Engineering. I'm going to let him come up here, and he'll walk you through the project. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everybody. My name is Patrick Ward. I'm with the firm Insight Engineering in Howell Township, New Jersey. What I want to do is just, in a very simple manner, kind of walk the council through the site, what we're proposing, show some images of, what we anticipate the facility to look like, and then how it fits in with this parcel and then the neighborhood. Can you hear me now? Thank you. So What you see here is a relatively recent aerial. This is from September of '23, and the site is 34 Randolph Road, which was identified from the professionals of the township. So as you can see here, off to the west, you have 547 and Randolph's on the north end. We're in a section of town that's in the non-residential SED zone where you have a variety of uses, but you have a substation to our south, the 1 million square feet that Mr. Clark referenced is off, which is not proceeding, is off to the east there. And then on the north side, you have some industrial and light industrial uses. So, in sum, we feel that this is an appropriate location for this type of facility, and it's also, as I'll mention, a convenient location. So, if you can go to the next slide. So just an overview of what is a transfer station. Again, I want to focus on that we are taking in construction debris or bulky waste. That's the main point of this. It collects debris from smaller point sources, which, construction sites, properties, generated by contractors and homeowners, and we transport it in bulk in larger trucks to final disposal sites, wherever that may be, depending on the type of waste. Transfer stations are an integral part of the waste stream. In general, it reduces the cost of transporting waste, reduces fuel consumption, in turn minimizing carbon footprint and vehicle maintenance costs. It produces less overall traffic, air emission, and road wear. Our type of facility will be a material recovery facility. Sometimes you'll hear that as called a MRF, and it's an advanced transfer facility that has the capability to recycle debris as it comes in. So really, it's a recycling transfer station. We're going to intercept construction and demolition material before it reaches its ultimate end game, which could be a landfill or a dump. Next slide. This is a very simple slide here, identifying the operation, really showing everybody what this will look like. This is all internal to the building, and I want to stress that as well. So, smaller trucks will bring waste from a point source, and we'll tip it, which is, item 1 up there, onto the floor of this building. Item 2 is it'll be sorted by, equipment into areas within the building, and then part 3 here is actual sorting, whether it's by mechanical or hand means. Once the material is sorted by type of material, it gets loaded into a larger truck from which it arrived, and that goes to the ultimate end location for whatever it may be, whether it's wood, concrete, or any other material. Go to the next slide, please. Again, we started with the aerial and why here, and this was touched upon by the township. We have access to main roads, 195, 547, and Route 9, and Resource has agreed, left only out of the site, and I'll show you what that looks like on the next slide, but this allows us to access the main roads and keeps the trucks that were mentioned off of local roads. The site today is a wood recycling facility. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. That was very evident in the aerial that I showed you. Very much, most of the site is being used as a wood recycling facility. So that has an advantage in that we're really expanding and developing upon a current use. We are in the SED zone, which identified the uses that surround us. And like I said, we feel this is a convenient and appropriate location at the southern end of Monmouth County. Next slide, please. This is a concept layout plan that we colorized. This has been unchanged through the duration of the project from when we first were in front of the Solid Waste Advisory Council. I'll call it the reddish brown area to the west, that will be what will remain of the Class B recycling facility, and you can see the circulation roads and really the stockpile areas there. It's not unlike what exists today, but again, in a much reduced footprint. And then off to the east is where the new development is, and this is where all those external operations that exist today will be internalized. So we have a 36,000 square foot facility building right in the middle. The office building is off to the right of that, and then there's a gatehouse and scale house. So what you see here is the main entrance is northwest of the main building, and we have a long queuing lane to keep the trucks off of Randolph Road as they're coming in to be, weighed into the site. And we feel that this site layout will accommodate the agreement that's been settled with the township. And again, we feel it fits in with the type of development that would follow in the area, in accordance with the municipal land use law. And then next slide, please. This is a 3D rendering that was prepared at the onset of the project. Again, kind of give you a view from, isometric view from up in the air across the street. You can see the larger facility building, 36,000 square feet. You can see the office complex there. There's off-street parking for workers and any visitors, if there are any. And then we feel that there's adequate circulation through the site. And just to, again, reiterate that from here, there is a process ahead of, seeking approval from the Solid Waste Advisory Council of Monmouth County, and then going to the NJDEP for an approval to actually approve this type of project. And with that, there are all of the applicable rules and regulations of the state, including stormwater management, and any discharges must be complied with state regulations. So that's really, a very simple presentation that I wanted to touch upon. So I appreciate everyone's time and the opportunity to do it.
Thank you.
And that's all we have this evening, members of council. Again, thank you very much for the time and all your efforts. We believe this is a win-win for Howell and my clients, and we do appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm going to do it a little differently. I'm going to ask anybody if you have any questions regarding this project, because we have outside counsel here, so I would like you to come up if you want to make a comment, or you have a question. Could I have a motion?
Let's open public comment, and
And
we-
then I want to close it when this is done, so that the officials can give a report, because it's probably going to represent things that are already on the
That's
agenda.
fine.
Am I correct?
What? We're just so everybody's clear, we're going to do one public comment session. So, but if you have public comments about the resource engineering settlement, I'd request you guys come up first so we can answer those in as much as we can once comment is over. And then we will continue public comment for anything else not relating to the settlement.
happy, I'll tell you that.
Each person shall first give their name and address to the clerk. The council should be addressed as a collective body and not as individual members. Each person shall have one turn to address the council, and comments shall not exceed a total of 5 minutes. Speakers shall be notified when their time has run, and no time extensions shall be permitted.
May I make a motion to open to public?
I need
Second.
my magnifying.
All in favor?
I left it.
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have a magnifying glass I can use, anybody? My magnifying glass is back on my chair. Yeah. All right. My name is Barbara Dixell. Village is Howell Township. I'm not going to address your project you're finishing, but I want to put something on the record. Going back to 2017, that this was done on the cloak of secrecy and whatever you want to call it, in the back room. Claire French was retiring. She was the clerk of Monmouth County. Her family owns this project. Her family owned the property of this waste treatment plant. So, unknown to the council, because this never came to the council, two Howell Township council people, one of which is dead, you can't dig him up, the other one's still around, wrote this letter to SWAC offering this waste treatment plant and having some kind of an agreement with them, and signed by Jeffrey Mayfield, the township manager. When this came out, there was discussion on it, and these official signed letterhead documents were taken out of Howell Township and delivered to my mailbox. So I have them, and I've had them since 2017. So I want this on the record. So, Mr. Dasty, I will give you a copy, if you want it. Here. I do have them. Oh, you have these? Oh, yes. This wonderful stuff? So, like I said, I just want this on the record. And I don't know what you're going to do about it, but whatever. As you know, Howell Township, I can't even, I'm sorry, I'm legally blind, and my macula is getting much worse, so all I can do is just tell you, whatever you do with this, please, I am begging you, do not destroy the lives of these poor people who live in Ramtown with anything. And when this project originally came up, they were going to have 400 or 500 trucks a day. Please, people have to live, people have a right to live, and don't let any waste treatment plant destroy their lives. That's all I ask. And like I said, anybody else from this neighborhood who wants a copy of this nonsense, I'll be glad to give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, it's also my opinion, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, you did sign the disclaimer when it was presented to the council, so it's also my opinion, if you vote on this tonight, you have a conflict of interest.
If you come up to here.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Linda Levine, 67 Lanes Pond Road in Howell. I just have a couple of questions. I don't know who to address this to. How are the trucks going to get to Route 9? How are the trucks going to get to Route 9?
Ms. Levine, please use your whole allotment, and we'll answer questions at the end. So it's not going to be back and forth.
Oh, okay. And also, I mean, what my concern is, I mean, we live pretty much across the street on the other side of Squonkam, and the road is terrible. It's a two-lane highway with no shoulder and a lot of traffic. Just putting a light in is really, it's much better. That intersection really needs a light, but on my corner where Alexander comes in, there's accidents there all the time. So if those trucks are going to go down Alexander to Route 9, that's going to be a horror. Plus, that's a residential area. So I'm just curious as to how the trucks are going to get to Route 9, and how is 547 going to be adapted to handle all this traffic? Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Please.
I don't think I can give you the geography about it, so,
So we're going to take notes and do...
oh, I thought
Could we
you
just
made-
answer the question and go to the next one?
We'll go through the public comments, because that way if there's repetitive questions, we'll know it, and we'll just answer them all at once.
Good evening, council members and guests. My name is Lawrence White. I reside at 15 Wren Way. Folks, I'm relatively new to this township, but I've been doing my homework about this project. And I gotta say, I don't really have a lot to talk about this evening, because the information has only been given to us this evening for the first time. And so, with respect, I would ask that this continue, and that we continue to receive information and get our questions answered. And I ask that this be tabled till the next council meeting for a vote, so that the citizens of this township have the time and ability in order to absorb this information and to instruct their elected officials about how they should vote on this matter. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name's Sherry Rivas. I live at 3 Horth Court. Sorry. My name is Sherry Rivas, and I live at 3 Horth Court. I was not planning to speak this evening, but I am absolutely frustrated and angry. I have a lot of concerns about the lack of transparency in the Howell Township government. I am wondering who is running this town when the mayor just said, I would like the opportunity for people to ask questions and get answers from the people who are sitting here. And when someone asks a legitimate question and would like an answer, is told, no, we're not giving you answers right now. We're taking all of public comment, and then going to answer. The person who was standing here may have had a follow-up question based on the answer to the question. Why do we continue to allow the people sitting over here to manage what you are doing and what you think is in the best interest of the town? I am asking the members of the council to make a change starting tonight. Bring back transparency. Are you here for the people of Howell, for the community, to do in the best interest of the town, the taxpayers, and the people who live near the location, which is how you started saying this agreement was for? If that's the truth, where is the document? 12 to 13 pages, and I'm trusting that you pulled out the information. First of all, I couldn't even see the information. People had to take pictures to pull it up bigger on their cell phone so that they could read it. Couldn't see it. Went through it so quickly, I have really not much information. But thank you for putting in there that I should reference NJAC 7:26-2:13G, because am I supposed to do that while I'm sitting here in the meeting and miss the rest of what you're saying? You want the town, you want the community to come here and support what you're doing. You don't give us the information to review it before the meeting. Oh, but guess what? The resolution, R2467, on your agenda, it's in the consent agenda resolutions. So you knew when the agenda was written that you were already consenting? Oh, but you had an executive session at 6 o'clock reviewing this. It says on your agenda, you reviewed an update on resource engineering, but you guys already knew you were consenting to it? So everyone who stands up here is wasting their breath?
So if I could just make a point of clarification.
If they let you, I don't know, Mayor.
Thank you. I think I might be able to speak now since everybody is here. The consent agenda is put together as you obviously know, but any one of us can pull out any item on that, and I did intend to pull this out, so.
Thank you, Mayor. So it's not just this project where there's a lack of transparency. I agree with what was said. The 12 or 13-page agreement, it should be given to the community to review so that we can see what questions do we have, because I have no questions. I wasn't able to process the information on a couple points on a slideshow. It's not the only place. I pulled up, I saw ambulances outside. I see our EMT members here. But where did I hear about something for EMT? Oh, that was on Facebook. Facebook, I heard that the EMT, we're going to privatize the EMT in Howell. Where is the communication from the council to the community? And what, do I need to just look at every agenda to see where is this going to come up? How are we talking about privatizing anything in Howell when we still haven't been able to review the efficiency study that we gave $108,000 to the government strategy group to do an efficiency study to see where the town could save money? Where is that? When are we being given it? That's a question I would like answered. What's the date that the community will be able to see the efficiency study? And will that occur before you start cutting the EMT and privatizing agencies in our town? Because I know something, if I want someone coming to my house to take care of myself or my family, I want somebody who knows how and somebody that knows the community.
Thank you. Your time has ended.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and our administrative team.
Good evening.
My name is Steve Morlino, 39-year resident, 51 Peachstone Road. I was here in 2017 when this came up, when it was discussed. It was objected to then. This evening I saw, I guess, a 10 or 15-minute presentation by these gentlemen on what this project is. I'll go on the record and tell you, I've run projects 50 million square feet and more, so I have a lot of questions, but I haven't seen this project other than what I couldn't see from the back because the font size is so small. I don't know what this project really consists of in this short presentation that was done. I listened to the gentleman over there that says this is the best thing since sliced bread. It may be. I don't know. Okay, so based on the presentation this evening, I'm going to ask you to delay the vote on this because nobody in this audience could absolutely comprehend what this project consists of. And if it's so good for Howell, you should have this on the front page of the Asbury Park Press so everybody could come here and accolade you for doing a fine job. And this gentleman's going to save us a fortune. Okay, I heard him before tell us about these wonderful projects. Okay, traffic is going to be a problem, even though our experts tell us traffic's no problem. Well, look at Fairfield Road where the warehouse is that didn't even open yet. They told us the stormwater would be no problem. Well, the last rain we had, you could float the Queen Mary over there. Okay? You really need to look at these projects and let the public digest what it is, okay? You have your area of expertise. There's people back here that have an area of expertise that far exceeds some of ours. Okay? Let the township give you input, okay? This project could be the best thing since sliced bread. I don't know based on this presentation. I heard Mr. Clark say how we're going to save all this money. Well, God help us. Maybe we could save the EMT project, the EMS program with it. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't know what the project is in the short presentation. He said it's 13 pages long. I didn't even see 13 pages up here. Okay, so again, I'd like to see the 13-page project negotiation that took place for over a year, and this is the first we're hearing about it, okay? A lot of people didn't hear about it. Today, I made a personal phone call. I called the mayor of Lakewood, Ray Coles. Him and I had a conversation today, okay? I know him from when I ran for the Senate. And we had a conversation. I asked him what his input was on this. He said he wasn't even aware of it. He thought this project was dead in the water. That was his words, dead in the water. He said he would call his manager and find out. He said he spoke to him 5 or 6 times in the morning prior to my conversation, and nothing like this was mentioned. So did we give the adjoining town the courtesy of knowing that this was going to be passed and voted on this evening, and that this project is such a great project? Okay, he reminded me that Lakewood is looking to put in a temporary waste transfer station that would only house stuff overnight, and then it would be taken off-site. Okay, so he says by DEP regulation, he can't send stuff here. Okay, they make it sound like we're not going to allow them. The DEP won't allow it, okay? It's nothing that they're doing, okay? It's the law. So again, I asked this council to provide the public with all the documents so that we could review them and see what they're all about. And maybe I'll come here and tell you, yeah, this is a great thing, let's do it. Or maybe I'll come here and tell you, you must have blinders on. Okay, or you're being sold a bill of goods by a bunch of carpetbaggers. Okay, so we need to understand what the project is. Now, it's my understanding I'll have time to talk about the EMS program at a second bite of the apple here?
No, you,
Or am I doing everything here? Mayor, you can make that decision, not even Mr. Clark. He's not the, he doesn't get voted on by me.
I would like to end this conversation because we have council here, so they can leave.
I agree with you 100%. That's why I'd like to come back at a second bite of the apple and talk about
I have no problem with
the
that.
study that was done that I haven't seen yet, and
I have
about
no
the
problem with that.
EMT. So thank you very much.
So I would suggest that you ask your fellow council members, Mayor.
I'm sorry?
I would suggest that you ask your fellow council members what they're willing to do in terms of having a second bite at the apple for everybody.
So did you
You
want
can
to
vote
sit
on
there
it.
and listen to 2 different or 4 different conversations?
Well, he only had a minute and something left. I would have just let him go for the 5 minutes and then he would.
Nobody stopped anybody.
I would have let him go for the 5 minutes and then he would have been done.
Can't hear you.
I would have let him continue for the 5 minutes and then he would have been done.
Nobody stopped him.
Mayor, just so everybody in the room is clear on our public comment section, let me just go over it so there's no misunderstanding. I'm going to keep going over it because maybe not everybody in the room knows what it is, so I would request everybody be quiet as I'm speaking. Our public comment is 5 minutes for each person. Nobody has the ability to extend it or shorten it. That way, everybody gets equal treatment and gets what they need to say. Typically, we try to answer, we're over here taking notes and writing down your questions. We try to address those questions following public comment. If the council wants to extend public comment, give people additional time, it would have to be across the board for everybody, so not one party gets one preference over somebody else. So if we're going to do that, it should be a vote amongst council to do that. Right now, we've asked that, it's our typical public comment, we've asked that if you're asking questions about the settlement to come up first, so we can address those questions, and then we would continue public comment. But now there's been the question posed, do you want to allow public comment, people to come up more than once? So that's in front of you. For our policy is to allow it once. If you want to deviate from that policy, there should be a vote.
I'd call on a vote.
I'm going to ask the audience not to interject when the council is speaking. Again, I'm going to ask the audience to stop speaking when the council is speaking.
So we don't shout from the audience, that's why. So we are talking right now. The time to come up is when you're at the podium and you can speak. If you're going to shout from the audience, then we'll have you removed. If you don't like that, I don't particularly care. The point of these meetings is for the council to transact business. That is absolutely the function of a public meeting. The fact that it is open for public comment is also a function of the Open Public Meetings Law. We don't dictate the terms of that. State law does. Everybody here gets 5 minutes. Everybody can speak on whatever subject that they think is of interest to the community. So we are not restricting it in any way. Mr. Molino, you want to come up here and talk about EMS? Come up here and talk about EMS. Whatever you want to talk about, you can talk about. You have a minute left. Go for it.
He runs the council, obviously.
State law runs the council.
Steve Morlino, Peachstone Road. You people, again, have no say whatsoever. You're letting this carpetbagger run the show here.
Steve, I'm gonna
okay?
stop
It's
you right
time
now.
we stop this nonsense.
I want to
Okay?
stop you, I want to explain something
You
to
can explain all you want after my minute's up, okay? It's my comment right now, I was told.
So I'm gonna
okay?
call for a
So let's
motion
talk
for-
about EMS, all right? We're not going to save any people's lives by cutting the budget of EMS.
Can I just call for a recess for 2 minutes,
Yes,
please?
certainly you may.
Please.
So take some time, compose yourself, and we'll come back.
I don't need to compose myself. You
Let's
should
just-
compose yourself.
I call for a recess. Excuse me? We would like to reconvene. So what time is it? Just to make sure. So it's 8:24 that we're reconvening. Okay, so we're going back to the open public hearing portion of the meeting. We've agreed, because it's a very long meeting, that we'll have 5 minutes, and you could speak whatever is on your mind at those 5 minutes, and then we will respond to those questions. So, Mr. Molino, if you would please come back. I'm going to just say, gentlemen, please. It's a family show.
Okay. Again, I'm going to go on record and say it's unfair to the public to talk about 3 major topics that I want to talk about when we're having a presentation about one specific project that's very important and is going to be here for the next 25 or 35 years, impacting the residents of Howell. And I think you folks should allow the public to get some more information. And I understand it's a settlement agreement. I just spoke to the attorney. However, it looks like it's very underhanded the way it's being done. That being said, I wanted to talk about the EMS situation. I don't believe we should outsource it. I've used the EMS in this community in the past. It's excellent. It's superior to anything I've seen. I used to work in a hospital for 25 years. I've seen private companies come and go with ambulances, okay? I've seen some of the people who claim they're medical experts on ambulances, okay? I forewarn you, this is not a good solution by bringing in a private outside company or going with the county. I understand the county bought a bunch of extra ambulances and they're looking to put them somewhere, okay? We have an excellent program here, excellent, okay? And I don't think the taxpayers would appreciate you're saving a couple of bucks at the risk of their lives, because I don't believe a company coming in here is going to provide the services
The remainder
that
of your
we've
time
seen.
has ended. Thank
Okay?
you.
I wanted to talk about the efficiency study, but now I don't have time to talk about
Thank
it.
you.
So that's a travesty by itself. The money we spent on an efficiency
you, Mr.
study
Morlino.
that this man won't show us is a travesty, and we're going to hold you people responsible.
Please, come up.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Larry Zwickle. I live at 89 Randolph Road. I'm part of that residential part that nobody knows about. I actually live there. I can't get out on my road now. I can't get out of my driveway. I can't get to 547. How are all those trucks going to get in and out without police assistance? Has anyone done a recent study of the traffic? I haven't heard of any. I believe, I'm just a layman here, but I believe the traffic has quadrupled or maybe quintupled, I don't know, 5 times since 2017, 18, 20. And I just, I'm not poo-pooing anything. I just want to know what's going on with the traffic. My quality of life is affected by everyday traffic on Randolph Road. They talked about that trucking company, and that trucking company that's not going to go in there, and the traffic that was coming. Everyone talks about traffic, but Randolph Road doesn't produce any traffic. It's all the cut-through traffic that is the traffic. Now, you can't stop that, but it's there all day long. And on Fridays, when you're trying to get out on 547, we have an exodus from Lakewood going north. 547 is a all day long. I don't believe that has been taken into consideration. And that's all I got to say, is there's got to be a new traffic study before you all just say this is fine and dandy, because right now it's not fine and dandy. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
God bless.
Joanne DeLeo, 10 Station Place. If you look at the first aerial view slide, you can see that there is a residential neighborhood located around the corner from the proposed transfer station. My home is located in that neighborhood. So even though it was referred to as being placed in a non-residential area, there is very close proximity to residential areas there. As far as the traffic goes, Route 547, as previously mentioned, is one lane in each direction. There are no shoulders on which disabled vehicles can pull over. 3 weeks ago, coming home from work late at night, there's a tractor trailer disabled on 547, so cars had to alternate to try and get around it. So when you see what the traffic looks like on a daily basis, there's nowhere for anybody to go if something happens to one of these trucks. As far as the existing traffic, they just completed a high-density housing unit in, or project in Lakewood, just over the overpass, so just south of me. About 600 units are there, which are now being inhabited. That's aiding traffic. And directly across the street from this proposed site for the resource engineering, there's a warehouse currently being constructed. So I don't know what the traffic is going to be for that, but that also has to be considered. In the presentation, we saw a rendering of the process, and it's going to be fully enclosed, but I could see when the trucks are dumping, the bay door is open. So to me, that's not fully enclosed because that's still going to be noise and dust and debris being released into the air across the street from where I live, or around the corner from where I live. Also, I see that there are Saturday hours that are proposed. Right now, the only respite we have from the traffic on 547 is on Saturdays, where we don't have the trucks J-braking or whatever they do when they're coming down the road, or backing up. You can hear trucks backing up. It's the only day that we have any quiet, and now that's going to be taken away from us. Next, I would like to know who's going to be monitoring what actually gets processed. We're told what's going to be processed in there, that there's not going to be any asbestos or other harmful materials, but is that just honor system? Like, how are we actually going to know what's going on in there? Next, it says that the community will greatly benefit. We're going to receive these host community benefits. What are those funds earmarked for? Like, is that just going into a general fund? Or are you going to be able to erect some kind of noise deterrence for anybody who's living around there? But it's community benefits, but the people who are really going to be feeling the effects of this are everyone up and down 547, on Oakland Road or Larrabee Boulevard or Alexander, where these trucks are going to be trying to get to Route 9, and then the people who actually have to live there listening to what's going on across the street. So I just wanted to comment on that. And then I wanted to say that in the presentation, the attorney for resource engineering said that they felt it was a convenient and appropriate area because it was not in a residential area. But if you lived in my house, you would feel much differently because we're right there. And I would appreciate if we have another meeting to discuss this because, like everyone else mentioned, we just saw this for the first time. So in order to really absorb and digest the information that was given to us, I would like to request additional time and present additional questions or comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Paige Hackett. I live at 578 Newton's Corner Road. First, I just wanted to echo what everyone has said already about allowing the public time to review the proposed proposed settlement and delay the vote. I want to echo what everyone has said about releasing the efficiency study and what everyone else has said about EMS. I don't need to dwell on any of those, but I do want to give you guys a hand and applaud the proposed zoning change for Victory Road that's on the agenda for tonight. So thank you very much for that. I do have some questions, just first impressions from what I was able to garner from the presentation. How do you intend to stop Ocean County from dumping? This is, from bringing their waste to this facility. It is very close to the Ocean County border. And I don't really, I don't buy the line that this is a great location for Monmouth County. It's the bottom of Monmouth County. So it is not convenient for most of Monmouth County to get to it. Another question I have is I would like clarification on the number of trucks that will be coming to the facility. What I was able to read on the PowerPoint said that there was originally going to be 150 trucks per day, which will be down to 80 trucks per day, which is 30 more trucks per day than the average number of trucks at 50 trucks per day. It was extremely confusing. Can you please clarify that? Is it 50 trucks currently, and then there's going to be 80 additional trucks, or there's going to be 30 additional trucks, which is more than the average of 50 trucks? Please clarify that for us. The stormwater on the facility, is that with current DEP regulations or the recommended state DEP regulations? I only know about this because I've sat in on so many Victory Road presentations about stormwater. So I would like clarification on the stormwater. Also the traffic study. The resident who just spoke requested an updated traffic study. I think that's an extremely great idea. As many of you know, I'm sure you all know, our Howell BOE has just proposed rebanding the schools and redistricting neighborhoods in town. So the Locust Avenue and Oak Glen neighborhoods are going to be bused to Ramtown now. Possibly more buses than normal coming down Randolph Road, which is already a throughway for that area of town going to Middle School South. So you'll be having possibly increased busing on that route, in addition to the yet-to-be-completed warehouse, which would all be great reasons to update the traffic study on this project. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. I want to thank the professionals for coming here tonight to give this presentation on this project. Just a couple things. First, I just want to start off, sometimes I'm critical, but having read the litigation documents and what was originally proposed back, several years ago and what they've put forward tonight, it does look markedly improved, and I'm pleased to see that. I still have some concerns that I just wanted to address. First, and I know that I emailed with Ms. Harney about this, I would have been nice if the settlement agreement had been made public so that we can see exactly what the terms of the agreement are, and then marry that with the information that we're being given tonight, and then maybe had a week to kind of digest it and understand it, and you guys could put it on the township website so members of the public that weren't here tonight could see it and understand it, and maybe come back and ask some questions. I think that would have been a little bit more transparent with the public. I understand, that maybe you guys are up against the clock with the litigation. Perhaps maybe a special meeting could have been held for this meeting presentation tonight so that, like a workshop meeting where the public could have had an opportunity to engage a little bit more with the representatives from resource engineering and our own professionals, but here we are. I got a bunch of questions. I know that they're not going to be answered right now as I'm up here, but I'll just ask them. I know that this property is located right next to the Larrabee substation that is part of the tri-collector solution. Has anyone notified BPU about the possible expansion of this recycling facility, and what are the regulations regarding having a utility use like the tri-collector, how they're going to expand it for, offshore wind with a solid waste facility? So maybe our professionals could speak to that, and if BPU has been involved and they're on board with the expansion of this recycling facility. The lawsuit itself said that this project was necessary because of the building boom in Lakewood and that they were going to be handling construction waste from Lakewood, but now we're being told that that's not going to be the case, and there were court documents that talked about how Ocean County, their landfill permits and DEP regulations didn't allow for the waste from Ocean County to be brought into Monmouth County, and particularly this facility in Howell. So if this location is not going to be accepting waste from Ocean County or Lakewood, what is the purpose of having it in the southernmost part of Howell and not more centrally located within, Monmouth County? And then I guess the next question is that the waste is coming in, and then it's going to be sorted, and then it's going to be exported. Where is the waste being exported to? Is it going to the Monmouth County landfill, or is it going to be exported out of state? So maybe if you guys could answer that, because then we can get an idea of which directions the trucks are going to be going. I want to talk quickly about the number of trucks. You're saying that it's going to be 80 trucks. Is that 80 trucks in and 80 trucks out, or 40 in, 40 out, or 80 total? You talk about how it's capped at 680 tons of material per day. If you divide that by 80 trucks, that's 8.5 tons. What kind of trucks do you anticipate are going to be bringing in the waste? Because most of those dump trucks are 3.5 ton trucks. And if you divide 680 by 3.5, you're looking at around 190 trucks. So if you could maybe just speak to what types of vehicles are going to be bringing in the waste, maybe we can get a better idea, because to me the math doesn't really make sense. And then with that said, you bring in the waste, what kinds of trucks are we going to be seeing as far as leaving the site? Are they going to be the same size trucks? Are they going to be larger trucks? So I think there's some clarity needed on that, because the math doesn't make sense to me, but maybe I'm missing something. The other question is, could the professionals talk about, are there any open DEP violations? Because I had the opportunity to go on some website and state website and look, and I saw that there was a number of open violations on this particular property. Now, that's not to suggest that they're not going to come into compliance at some point in the future, but it does concern me that you have, people that are going to be coming to our town to operate a facility, and currently there are pending open violations with the DEP. So, I just think that we need to be a little cautious about, who's going to be coming to Howell to do business and whether or not they're, currently compliant with, state regulations. So those are my questions. I appreciate your answers in advance. Thank you.
Please.
Hello, I'm Dominic Mazza. I'm not a resident of Howell. I'm someone from the industry, and I just heard some facts tonight that didn't quite make sense to me, and I wanted to make the council aware, and I would ask the questions of their professionals. I've operated a transfer station for 20 years. I know the average inbound truck is 3.5 tons. So I was speaking to Mark earlier. That comes out to 194 inbound trucks. Trip-wise, that's almost 400 trucks. That doesn't count the outbound trucks leaving. Materials have to leave the facility, whether it's recycled material as mulch or it's debris. I can't figure out how you're getting 80 trucks a day. So I would definitely push them for that answer. Max truck can hold 24 tons without going over 80,000 pounds. So if they're assuming every single truck is coming in maxed. Doesn't even make sense, because your township trucks are going to be dumping for free, and your township trucks, go look, I'm sure they carry 1 to 2 tons. So that's something to look into. Just something else to warn the council about. Once you approve this settlement, it's going to go to the county, it's going to go to the state, and all the regulations are going to be going through either the county or the state. Them saying they're not going to take material from Ocean County, there's federal laws, there's waste flow laws. It doesn't mean anything to say they're not going to take material from Ocean County. It can change in a second. Their hours, 7 to 3. I've changed my hours, and again, they're not coming in front of you to change the hours. They're going to be going to the state. So just some stuff for you to consider. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Schultz, 20
14 Oakhurst Parkway, Oakhurst, New Jersey. My notes aren't really very consistent here, but I do have some observations. One of them is the witness from, if you could call him a witness, from Resource Engineering was not qualified to make a presentation. He wasn't sworn in as a witness. Neither am I. Neither is Mr. Mazza, Morlino. So this really doesn't make the grade for a public hearing. You're just giving us an opportunity to speak. Now, to me, this layout of this project really looks like a single stream recycling transfer station. Now, the picture we saw with a few people with a conveyor belt with different bins, that didn't look like they're sorting construction debris. Not to me. Now, Mr. Mazza, he alluded that the county is going to regulate this, the DEP is going to regulate this. Now, the township doesn't have any authority to approve this. That authority comes from the county, freeholders, commissioners, through the Solid Waste Advisory Committee. You don't have any power to zone it. You don't have any power to approve it. You just interjected yourselves into a lawsuit thinking that you're going to benefit, and apparently the benefits are mostly monetary. So you interjected yourself into a lawsuit to try to shake these people down. Now, another point that I would like to make is back in 2017, I had looked at the proposal of the project and came to a meeting here, went to a meeting there, and I was looking at the property ownership information. The taxes were in arrears for years. Now, I don't know if they still are, but I would think that we would want to know if they're paying their taxes or not. Another thing that I can't make any sense out of, we don't know who Resource Engineering is. We don't know if they are qualified to operate a solid waste transfer station. What is their background? We have no idea what their background is. Are they qualified to do this? So, I have one more point. I see that there's a freight line, I believe, in close proximity to this site. I'm thinking that possibly they might look for a rail spur going in here someday. That could possibly increase the tonnage. Now, Mr. Mazza alluded to the tonnage and number of trucks presented, and it didn't really make sense. Now, I went through it a different way. I divided 1,500 tons per day by 80, and I came up with 18.75 tons. So if you're going to use those numbers, you're going to have an average of 18 tons on a truck. Well, you can't really go much higher than 18.75. So if you're, you can only go, 5.25 tons more than 18.7 average. Mr. Mazza alludes, typical contractors are bringing 2 or 3 tons in. You're going to regulate this so each truck needs to have at least 16 tons? Basically, I think that's how you're going to work it out. You need some, if you're really going to go through this shakedown of the owners for this proposal, for all this money,
I think that they really need to post a bond with the township.
Thank you. Your time has ended.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street, Howell. I love how you wrapped this up in a big bow and said, look, we got a great thing going here. What I want to know is what's in the developer's agreement that you haven't told us. Has the council actually read the developer's agreement? The actual developer's agreement, not just this presentation? And how has the council actually looked all the way back to 2017 of all the emails that went back and forth? The emails from Brickwater asking about the contamination that might happen in the waterway that's behind it that would affect Ramtown residents and their people that they supply water to. I'm asking you, please take your time, table this, and make sure you have all the answers you need. Make sure you look at this agreement, and because it's going to come back as a repercussion when it comes out, because it eventually will come out. And if there's something missing from it, the residents answer to you. We don't answer to the professionals. You have to answer to us why this is happening. This is not right now, we have a company here who didn't even respect residents enough to pay their taxes the first year they took over. They were on a tax lien a year ago. You don't pay taxes, but now we're going to trust you to say this is what you're going to do for us? You started out on a rocky road. This property was sold for $3 million a year ago, and here we are, looking at a piece of property where they can't pay $11,000 a year taxes on, which I don't know how it's that low. So, and yes, it's nice that we're going to see $1 million here, but how much of this town are we going to sell off? What about our infrastructure? When all these trucks ruin our roads, or we have to make the roads wider because we didn't account for that. How about, look at the planning board. They're going to make left turns out of there. Our planning board has talked to all these warehouses, and if you go back and look at that, there is no way for us to enforce turning left out of a structure or turning right out of a structure. We don't have police to put there, so who's going to enforce that? These trucks are going to go wherever they want to go to get to wherever they have to be the quickest they want to be. We're not worried about asbestos or anything else. Well, you know what? We weren't worried about a bomb either, and one showed up there, 2 years ago? So things happen. We really need to protect the residents and the people around this area. I don't know if this is good or not. I haven't had enough time to go through it, to be honest with you. It might be a great idea. But right now, you're telling me if I had to make a decision, I would table this, because now is not the time to make a quick decision. So do your residents a favor and table this at least till another meeting, please. That's all I'm going to say about this one. And please, maybe which one of our professionals looked at? Do we have our own traffic study done here? Did our planner look at this? We're spending, how much money have we spent on lawyers? How many lawyers do we have now? We have a manager that's a lawyer, we have a full-time lawyer, we have another lawyer doing HR who's getting harassment complaints at the police station from employees. Come on now. And then we're going to tell us we have budget problems. Yes, let's cut EMS, who actually is there to help us, and we're paying lawyers out the wazoo that are getting complaints about harassment. It's time to stop this. This council needs to step up. I'm tired of coming here and watching you all sit there with doe eyes, looking at residents, not able to talk, not able to have a conversation with residents. That's what we're here for. I love this town. I've been here a long time. I love this town. And, you know, as much as it is, there's no communication. There's no energy between council and residents and everything else. Yes, we all have our friends. I think everybody is a great person on the side. But we need pit bulls up here to protect the residents. I don't need you to be my friend up there. I'm not going to agree with you. You're not going to agree with me. I get that. But let me tell you something. There's people here, our EMS, our police, there's people here that protect us. We're not protecting them. We're not protecting the residents, and you're not even communicating with the residents. I'm tired. I haven't been here for a year. You know why? Why? You're not going to answer a question for me. I don't even know. You don't even have a discussion with each other that we can listen to. I want to know what you know. How much of this agreement do you know? Have you read every part of it? Can you say without any doubt that this is the right thing to do? Because we only have one shot at this. And you're the decision makers who's going to take that one shot. So please, take a step back, let's discuss it again, and just table it to the next meeting. If they are such great neighbors and they want to work with us, then they're going to work with us and give us one more meeting to actually sit down and let the residents absorb this and see what's going on. So that's my ask of you. Real quick, Captain going to OEM. I just want to know,
Thank
is that
you. Your
captain,
time
is
has
both a
ended.
full-time position? Because it used to be a full-time OEM. Can I just have 1 second just to ask
Your
this?
time has ended. We have to be fair to everyone. Thank you.
You know, this really should have been 2 separate meetings. Too many people have questions. You're really cutting off residents from talking to you, and you should want to talk to residents.
Joy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Joseph DeBella, 41 Lions Court. I want to first commend our Department of Public Works. I thought they did an exceptional job with the first snow we've had in a few years, so certainly kudos to the Mayor and Council for your support of the DPW. They did a great job. On the EMS issue, I was fortunate in the time I was mayor, we created the paid EMS department to support our volunteers because it's very difficult to find volunteers. I haven't heard any buzz that the governing body has been considering eliminating that unit as a function of our police department. So I know rumors are usually referred to as unconfirmed lies. I'm certainly going to give you the benefit of the doubt that whatever you're doing it with a comprehensive review and an analysis of the facts. But for sure, I know the entire community applauds our police, and certainly the EMS that is a part of that department. They are absolutely exceptional. On the issue tonight in the presentation that I heard, look, these are not easy issues, right? People who live close by aren't going to like it. No one wants anything like anything nowadays in their backyard. And I respect every single person that had an opportunity to get up and speak their piece. But I do think we need to do it as a community much more civilly. People shouting other people down when they're up here, people shouting at you all, the mayor included. There's no place for that. So I certainly hope that as a community, we can debate these kinds of very controversial issues without calling each other names or shouting from the back. That's not going to make the process any better. All I know is of what I heard a reference to, we want you to be pit bulls up here. I don't want you to be a pit bull. I just want you to do what you think is right for the community. And what I heard tonight, at least the facts, were that this can generate $1 million in tax revenue. I also feel it very disturbing when we get up and talk about who didn't or did pay their taxes. From time to time, there have been people in this town that have had a rough time paying their taxes. This is a tough time to be in business. The Biden economy has ruined the economy, and anyone that is in business knows that. So somebody falls behind on their taxes, I got to tell you, I think we need to cut each other a break. There have been members of this council on both parties who have had issues. So I think it's a little out of sorts to condemn someone because they might have been late in paying their taxes. And I'm sure you've looked at that as a part of any arrangement. But of what I heard, I certainly hope you're giving this every consideration. Of what I heard in the presentation, there aren't materials that are going to be able to seep into the ground. You're going to have the ability to do inspections from time to time on an unannounced basis. And the town will hold the mayor and council accountable, if this was to be passed, to see to it that you absolutely do those kinds of things to protect the people of Howell Township. And $1 million in revenue at a time where we need to improve our infrastructure. We need to pay our police and all of our township employees a fair wage. We need to pave the roads. We need to fix the plows on the front of the trucks. Where is this money going to come from? Are we going to exclusively depend on residential taxpayers to foot the bill? So I'm simply asking you to understand, and I think you know this, in the spot you're in, half the people are going to like this plan, and half the people aren't. Your job is to be able to do what you think is right that will impact all 50+ thousand people, not just the ones that are here tonight like myself or the people that might be home. These are not easy issues, but it appears to me that you've got the facts. There was another comment made about You threw yourselves inside this law firm or this litigation to shake somebody down. I'm glad you did. Because in 2007, there were many people who were here that said, you should stop what might be happening. You were criticized then. Quite frankly, when you're in a governing body, if you walked on water, you'd be criticized because they'd say you didn't know how to swim. That sort of comes with the territory. But I'm glad that you introduced yourself to this process, because to the extent that there is litigation and a judge or others could summarily decide our outcome, and I know this still might have to be approved by the county and the state from what I heard tonight, at least you would have done your very best to see to it we got the best deal for Howell Township, from a traffic perspective, from an environmental perspective, and from a financial perspective. Because if you sat back and didn't do anything, and maybe let the court decide, who knows what the outcome would have been. So I'm
Thank you. Your time
concerned
has ended.
about the climate. I hope you all do your role to help improve that. And I appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
Good evening. Betty Velez Gimbel, 97 Victory Road. Of course, I'm here to thank you very much for Ordinance 02401 to rezone ARE6. I cannot tell you how happy I am and how grateful we all are on Victory Road, as well as the Howell residents, I am sure. I'm a little bit confused by the gentleman's comments. If the privatization of EMS is a rumor, then why are they all here tonight?
Good question.
I don't understand. So, but if it is a rumor, then I apologize, but I would still like to share my comments regarding these fine people. I would like to request the council's support in maintaining the current EMS. Outsourcing is very concerning with such a sensitive situation. There's a level of disconnect. And, you know, there's no guarantee in a response time with outsourcing. Housing our own EMS, it increases the accountability and awareness. There's a greater management team and an employee buy-in. They're dedicated. And we're better satisfied stakeholders. Thank God I have not needed their services as of yet, but if I do, I would want someone who is dedicated to Howell residents and has a love for this town. So outsourcing, again, is a huge concern, and I would appreciate you, again, if it's not a rumor, please continue to support them. Have a good evening.
Thank you. I don't see anybody standing. Is there anyone else that wants to come up and speak? As I see no one, I would, okay.
Can I make one comment about the EMS?
One turn.
Ms. Dixell, you've had your 5 minutes. We're going to stick to meeting protocol. You can have 5 minutes, but you cannot cede your 5 minutes to anyone. That's against meeting protocol. No, you cannot.
Are we closing public comment?
Is he coming up?
Mayor, I
Jerry,
hope
are you coming up, or? No. Okay, so at this point, I would take a motion. Okay, oh, you got to come up, don't scream from the back. All right, there are two, you're running to the chase here. Jerry, come on, please.
I live in the Villages,
Your address, please?
62A Piazza Victoria.
Thank you.
I live in the Villages, and the EMS knows where everybody is. If you're going to privatize it, they'll never find anybody.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, Mayor Berger. It's nice to see you again.
Hi.
John Smith, 113 White Street. The only thing that I would like to point out is that if you do privatize EMS, currently, as I understand it, the township EMS does not balance bill. And if you privatize it, or put it out for bid, or whatever the terminology you want to use, if they do balance bill, you are going to have residents, like the gentleman before me, who are going to get massive bills. And they are going to come after you with torches and pitchforks. So, please, if you're going to do this, and I strongly, strongly urge you not to do it. These people are dedicated. They've been here for a long time. They know the town. I don't know if many of you know that there's a Howell Road, there's a Howell Court, there's a Howell Lane, and they are all in different parts of the township. And if you go to the wrong one, it's 15 minutes before you get the next one.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just would like to say that these people are dedicated and they deserve to stay here and keep their jobs and be treated like the professionals that they are. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Okay, at this point, I would like to a motion to close the public hearing section of the meeting.
Motion to close?
May I have a second?
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Okay, at this time, can we, can I?
Mayor, I think I've taken fairly good notes. Would you like me to try to respond, and maybe everyone else can chip in as necessary?
Yeah, I think we all have questions, so,
Well, do you want us to respond first?
yes, please.
Okay. And I didn't quite get everyone's name, but I'll try, all right? This lovely lady who spoke over here, this young lady whose name I didn't get, I apologize, was asking questions or making comments about what happened in 2017 or 2018. We're not here to address that. One thing I think it's important for everyone to understand, the township has no legal say as to whether or not the transfer station is built or not. We don't have any say on that. We can give our opinion, but we don't have any kind of a vote, like a site plan approval for a planning board. That's all. If it's going to be built, it's going to have to be approved by SWAC, the county commissioners, and the DEP. We have no say on that. I shouldn't say we have no say. We don't have a right to deny it or approve it. What's being discussed this evening is if it's approved by everybody else, what's the best that the township can do for the township? That's what this is about. So if someone on the council were to vote, for instance, in favor of this, what they're saying is, if it gets approved by the state, this is the deal we want for the township. I just want everyone to understand that whatever vote tonight is not to approve this transfer station. Okay? I'm sorry, somebody's trying to talk. I didn't quite hear you. So the young lady who spoke here has talked about, what happened back in 2017, 2018. I did have these documents before. I've had them in conjunction with a lawsuit that started after that one. So I do have them, and thank you. But that's a different horse. There was a question about how the trucks are going to get out of the site and go back to Route 9, and I'll leave that for maybe one of the local people to indicate. I think I understand it, but I'm not sure of the geography. Joe or Matt, one of you, when they make a left-hand turn out of the parking area.
Sure, so I'll defer to Matt on that, but I also want to underscore what Jerry's been saying. So this is a creature of state law, and it really exists at the DEP level. They have ultimate authority over it, so when we're finished here and assuming this gets approved, the work for resource is really just starting. They've got to go back to the commissioners, and then they've got to go to DEP. So in addition to whatever sort of precautions we've baked into this settlement, they're going to have to satisfy all the other regulations as well, and we're going to be monitoring all of those applications throughout the process, because some of those things are better dealt with in the context of those particular applications, as opposed to a settlement of litigation where some of it may end up being just guesswork. So I did want to make sure that everybody was aware of that.
I think resource engineering could speak a little bit to the truck patterns as well, but the position of the site on 547, which connects directly to 195, I believe is part of the big appeal for the location. Any traffic that has to go north on Route 9 would be anticipated to be going to 195 and then taking the Route 9 entrance from 195. This keeps the traffic on the county, state, and federal highways.
Thank you, Matt. To follow that up, one gentleman said that they have a house, or they live on Randolph. I believe if they live on Randolph, it's further to the right from this facility. So if you have trucks coming out of the facility making a left, and trucks coming into the facility off of Lakewood Road, they're not going to go past that house. That's the point of it. Laura White commented that she wanted to have the hearing continued. We'll just go on with that. Sherry Rivas made some statements about lack of transparency, and she talked about an efficiency study that is not really relevant tonight. And Ms. Rivas, in terms of transparency, you may complain that you haven't seen the document, the settlement agreement before. And the reason is because only within the last few days were there a couple of minor changes to that agreement. So we weren't able to send it out to everyone, but I can assure you, to respond to what someone else asked, you've heard what's in that agreement. Nothing is being held back, as was inferred by one of the ladies who spoke. You've heard it all. Steve, no, okay, you shouldn't do that.
If you want to speak, you have to come up to the,
I'm
you
trying to
cannot,
answer. I am answering your question.
We're done with public comment.
I am answering your questions.
Public comment has concluded at this time. The professionals are answering the questions that were asked during public comment. This is not a back and forth. Give the professionals the ability to answer your questions.
Mr. Steve Merlino spoke about Lakewood being noticed and that he had spoken to the mayor in Lakewood about it, and the mayor indicated that he wasn't really aware of this. I don't know if the mayor is, and I know him very, very well, but it doesn't matter. Lakewood has absolutely nothing to do with this application. Nothing from Lakewood will be deposited in this transfer station if it's approved, because it's a violation of state law. The transfer station people, after spending millions of dollars to build it, would potentially lose their DEP license if they violated that. Ocean County won't allow it because Ocean County wants their stuff to go to their landfill in Manchester. So Lakewood's irrelevant in terms of this transfer station. And there's a document that was submitted, which is part of, referenced in the agreement, from the Ocean County county attorney, confirming that nothing from Ocean County would be allowed to go to this transfer station in Howell Township if it's approved. Mr. Sprinkle, Larry Sprinkle testified about, I'm not sure what this, about police assistance. I don't think there was a question, but the left-hand turns only out of the parking lot will be enforced, just like every red light and every other stop sign.
Mr. Dasty, if I could jump in on that one too. A lot of questions about the traffic study and updated traffic study. There's a well-known fact that the intersection doesn't function. It fails. I think that everyone who gave testimony to that effect can agree. This project is proposing a new traffic light. When you do a traffic study, you're getting your warrants to see if signalization, which is the ultimate fix, is needed. That's established that it is, and it is proposed. So the traffic situation will be greatly improved with the installation of that light.
The woman who, I missed the name, who lives at 10 Station Place, who lives in the area, I guess, off to the left, was indicated that she lives in a residential area. She was complaining about Saturday hours being 4 hours on a Saturday that it would be open. I'd remind all of you that the township residents have the right to take their debris and their kinds of stuff to this station. And I don't know about everybody else, but I usually do that kind of stuff on Saturdays, not during the week. So that's the reason it presumably would be open for 4 hours on Saturday and close, I think, at either noon or 1 o'clock. She also questioned who would monitor the agreement. Well, it's like every other agreement we have. This is going to be enforced by a court order. Not only would it be potentially a violation of the agreement, it'll be a violation of the order from the judge in Freehold. It presumably would also be a violation of the DEP permits. And that is very significant because I said earlier, these people are going to spend millions of dollars if they get approved. They're not going to jeopardize that permit and those millions of dollars by allowing, I don't know what, different waste to come to the transfer station, which they wouldn't be able to handle anyway.
Just to jump in quickly, I will also underscore that baked into the settlement agreement are reporting requirements for various yardages, tonnages. There's going to be documentation submitted quarterly with the host community benefits. We're entitled to all of the information that DEP is getting from them. So there'll be substantial documentary oversight in addition to our ability to go in and conduct audits. That's going to be part of the agreement as well.
The same woman from 10 Station Place questioned what is the approximate $1 million per year of host community benefits going to be used for. Let's get the bill. Let's see if it ever gets approved and ever gets built.
We've had preliminary discussions about what obviously $1 million into the budget does. In 1 year's worth of $1 million, you could repave all of Randolph Road and redesign the other end of the intersection, which we know is a little tricky with those couple turns with Oak Glen, Brook, and Randolph coming together in Lakewood, Allenwood. That's just an example. If you've just wanted to put in $1 million into the road program, we normally try and hit about $4 million a year, and that gets us close to our 30-year average of replacing all of our roads. Throw another $1 million in, it's another 25%. So it's 25% more roads, more paving, and could be a big benefit. That's just preliminary ideas and just kind of give you a scale of what that $1 million does. But the possibilities are endless.
Pamela Hackett asked for the vote to be delayed. She also spoke of the Lakewood potential of dumping. I think I've answered that. And she said that this location in the southern part of the county wouldn't be convenient to the rest of the county. That's right. This transfer station is going to assist, in, if it's ever approved, is going to assist in minimizing transportation costs and other kind of expenses for the towns in this area. That's the reason somebody in the northern part of the county is not coming down here. That doesn't make any sense. But that's and for the same reason, I'm going to try to well, yeah, I understand that. It's embarrassing, and especially someone who's a newspaper person. It's very rude for him to do that, isn't it? So it would be totally very expensive for someone, for a truck to go from Howell to one of the other 4 transfer stations in the northern part of the county. That's a terrible expense for the township DPW. Their trucks have to go up north. Why? They could say here, and all the communities around here would be saving a lot of costs and manpower, gasoline, truck wear and tear, etc. So yes, that's right. It won't be convenient for the people in the northern part of Monmouth County. That's the point. It would be convenient and cost-effective for the communities in this area. There was also a question about the number of trucks quite a few times, and Ms. Hackett brought it up. The agreement provides that right now, you have about 50 trucks a day in and out, right now. What's there now will be cut in half because the size of it is going to be about half of what it is now. And the agreement says, and the order will say, that there will be an additional approximate 30 trucks. That's what it says, and that's what's going to be enforced. So at most, I know that there might have been some confusion, maybe on my part, I apologize, in terms of what the average was and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we're anticipating, I think, based on what we've been told, an average of 80 trucks per day, which may fluctuate based on seasonal demands with brush and that kind of processing.
The agreement provides, and the order that enforces it provides that there will be an average of approximately 80 trucks total per day. Right now, there's 50, so we're talking about 30 more. I'll leave it to somebody else to comment on what Mr. Mazza had to say. I think it's always curious when you have a competitor come up and complain about a new project that might impede on his but so be it. Mr. Mazza commented about the number of trucks and how that didn't seem to work out math-wise. I'll leave that for someone else to speak of.
Mr.
They won't stop talking, will they? Isn't it rude?
If I could jump in. Question about, does Larrabee Switch know about this? We have had conversations with JCP&L and a couple of representatives and First Energy about the development going on in this site. They're very well aware of the project. They did not tell us that there's any objections. I think if we know anything about real estate, especially in this part of town, if they did, they probably would have just bought the site. But we're not aware of any objections to that. I'd ask representatives from Resource to talk a little bit about where the trucks are going, where the waste goes after the fact. Just as a point of reference, that was one of the questions.
You ought to get to the mic, sir.
So, if I may, so are you completed?
No.
By answering the question?
No.
Okay.
No, I'm not. There's about 4 or 5 other people I'll mention.
For the truck question, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
The way that the NJDEP permit will be applied for and granted, a facility like this has to provide the DEP with predetermined truck routes to and from the facility. That means that those truck routes need to be reviewed and approved by the state. At that point in the application, the township, and Mr. Clark said this, the township will have an engagement as part of that, but those truck routes will be predetermined and pre-approved. At this point in time in the project, since we are at its infancy with the permitting process, those routes have not been established. But I will say that, and Mr. Howard did comment on this very briefly, the anticipation is that trucks towards Route 9 will be using 547, will predominantly be headed up 547 to 195, and if they needed to go to the Route 9 corridor, it would be via 195. So I believe that answers the question.
Mr. Ward, while you're still there, could you talk about the number of trucks? And Mr. Mazza, the competitor, talked about 3.5-ton trucks, and how could it possibly be only 80 trips a day?
Yeah, when there's a demolition of a house, for example, they use a 23-ton truck. So although, as someone pointed out, they're not going to all be that size and weight, there'll be a mix. But they're definitely going to trend on the heavier side. And that's how, if Mr. Mazza can get his calculator back out and do the math, he might be able to figure that out. But that's how we got to that.
Thank you. Ms. Hackett also wanted...
That's not nice.
Ms. Hackett also asked about whether the application, if it's ever approved, would it need to comply with the new stormwater regulations which were adopted by the DEP in early 2022? And the answer is yes, absolutely. They'll have to comply with the stormwater regulations which have been adopted about 1.5 years ago. And the landscaping would comply within the township code so that it would be properly buffered and sheltered, as we talked about earlier. Mr. Mazza, we talked about. Okay. Mr. Schultz asked about I have a note here about interjecting into the lawsuit, or why we did that. I guess maybe that's what it was. We did it because we wanted to try to do the best we can for the township. Simple as that. This applicant is going to go before the county, and they're going to provide, presumably, uncontroverted evidence as to why this is needed. And there's a good possibility that the commissioners may agree with that. Thereafter, they go to the DEP, and they'll explain why, for environmental purposes, we need a transfer station in the southern part of the county, and this is a great spot. The traffic will be good, and the DEP might approve it. And if it's approved by those agencies, and we don't do what we can to protect the citizens and try to recoup the costs that will just normally occur from a facility like this, I don't think that this council would be doing the best it can do. They're not approving the transfer station. What they're doing is trying to get the best deal they can for the taxpayers if it's approved. If it's not approved, we all go home. He also indicated, and this is a very good question, he wanted to know the qualifications of the people who would run the facility. Can someone talk about that on behalf of Resource? Any prior experience or qualifications you might have in this type of industry?
We have Bernie Guthers here from Resource. He's actually the corporate representative, and he can address that.
Thank you.
Hi, Bernie Guthers. So I've been working with this site from previous
Get closer to it.
previous ownership from approximately the past 8-10 years. I've worked with the property throughout its DEP meetings, throughout all of its SWAC meetings and ultimate vote, through other county meetings. So I've worked predominantly on site several days of the week. I work with compliance with the DEP now since 2016.
Thank you. Thank you. Tina, I'm sorry, I didn't get the last name, wanted to know if the council had read the agreement. I can assure you they've read the agreement more times than they want, because we have been with them on many occasions in the settlement discussions. They've read the agreement many times. She also asked how we're going to enforce the left turn out only from the parking lot. It's going to be enforced by the police department just like every other stop sign and red light is in this town. So, Mark, and I'm sorry to get his last name, wanted to know if the BPU had been notified. I don't think they have been. I don't think they have to be. So it's not a requirement in any sense. But if they have to be, both the county and the DEP will require that they be notified. They certainly don't have to be notified at this level of the discussions. And he wanted to know where Lakewood would be taking its waste. Lakewood's going to take its waste where it always takes its waste, to the Manchester Township landfill in Manchester Township. And he also complained about the lawyers getting too much money. I've never heard that complaint before, but thank you, Mark. Okay. I think he also asked about the type of trucks. They've answered that, and about some open DEP violations that we're not familiar with, but if there are, the DEP certainly knows where they are, and they can take care of that. A woman named Betty testified, a good-looking guy named Jerry testified, and John Smith, but they all testified with regard to the EMS issues, and I didn't really hear any questions from them about what we hear about tonight. And Mr. DeBella testified and suggested that people be civil and not talk when other people are talking. I think I hit everybody who testified, or who spoke, and if I missed anybody, I apologize.
Not to say you missed anybody, but just a couple other additions. There's questions about contamination of nearby waterways. Pat, do you want to explain just how the stormwater regulations work and what laws you're bound to on the DEP side?
Yes, so Mr. Dasty touched upon this. The DEP permit we're seeking is for Division of Solid Waste But with that, any discharge permits for stormwater must be fully complied with and obtained. And as we have experience with the subject property now, there is an enforcement mechanism in the DEP that is relatively strong compared to other mechanisms at the DEP that can enforce their requirements for their discharge permit. So stormwater management on this scale would qualify as a discharge permit with the DEP, and we would have to fully comply with all their rules and requirements, including pre-construction testing, during construction testing, and post-construction testing. So.
And then just a couple more items. Questions about how we can manage the infrastructure. I think the installation of the traffic light is a perfect example of how the infrastructure is being improved. I touched on it before with the host community benefits. That's really part of the purpose, and I can tell you the $1 million is going to be able to expand infrastructure improvements beyond just the limits of the site and the immediate area. It's going to be a big benefit for the town. And we did check, taxes are paid.
Yeah, I can, I can verify that. As of December, we saw there was an arrears. I reached out to Mr. Vitolo, and they were paid. I have not checked today, but I believe they're current. And again, just to amplify something that I was talking about, this is one piece of a much bigger, longer process for them. So if we vote on this and we approve this settlement tonight, then we have the township's part taken care of, and then it'll be up to Jerry and Mr. Vitolo to memorialize that in an order for the court, so that the court will have some oversight over the settlement. It also lets the county know that we've been able to achieve sort of a deal that we believe is suitable for it, so that they can take action that they deem necessary on the application. And then again, the ultimate authority is DEP. I mean, we all know how the rules and regs go with that, and it's a nightmare, and it's a lot of heavy lifting. And it is by no means certain for them that they end up with an approval at the end of this whole process, so here we
Joe,
are.
someone mentioned that Howell does not have control after the fact once it gets approved. Is that true?
Well, I'll tell you what, we've never had control over it, right? This is something that is carved out of land use. So because of the nature of it, because it's a state thing, listen, nobody would have a transfer station. If it was up to municipal control, nobody would have a transfer station, nobody would have anything. So it removes our oversight and it places it with the county and ultimately with DEP. So they have to go and apply for their Class C recycling permit. Now, we'll monitor it, and we're going to make sure that that is materially compliant with the terms of the agreement and doesn't differ in any real way from what our understanding is. But I don't think DEP really would care one bit if we told them this is not a good deal for us. I mean, they have oversight over statewide needs, not local needs. So we're taking care of Howell by looking at what we can do, and the state will look at the bigger picture, so.
But Mayor, if I could answer your question more fully, we do have control over what we agree with, presumably tonight, because it's going to be part of a court order. And there are provisions in this agreement that if, for instance, after all the approvals are obtained, after they build the buildings, they violate this agreement, we have every right to go to court and get relief, every right. So, and that doesn't even talk about they might be putting their own DEP license in jeopardy. But if they don't agree, if they don't comply with what we presumably are agreeing to, which will be enforced by an order from the court, the agreement provides we can take whatever actions we need to if they breach that agreement.
So again, the hours of operation.
Yeah.
Will we be in control of the hours of operation after it's fully built? Or can they change the hours of operation if they go to the county or DEP?
No, they can't. They presumably might. They can go to court and say, Judge, we want to change the hours. We'll be there contesting it. The hours are pretty normal. The hours are, I think, 8 to 4, 8 to 5 during the week.
7, I think 7 to 3.
7 o'clock and 4 hours on a Saturday.
So, yeah, I misunderstood your question. We retain control over the settlement. We don't cede control to any other entity as a result of that. So this isn't a paper tiger. We have the ability to control a great deal of the project through this settlement at this time, and we control a lot of the financial aspects and the benefits to the town through it. That's the whole point of it. And in terms of intervening in this lawsuit, it's the reason we intervened. I mean, we have the ability to strike a deal that suits Howell because we're able to look at a micro level instead of a 50,000-foot view.
Does that answer your question, Mayor?
Yeah, I just had a question for our
Yes?
resource. While we're talking about hours, what are the current hours of operation with the existing mulching? So it is the same, and that's all being done outdoors currently, because there is no indoor facility. All right, thanks.
Someone had questioned on the hours on Saturdays, but as I said earlier, I mean, the township residents will be allowed to bring their brush there for
Well,
free.
with due respect, I live right by the police station, and every Saturday morning, it wakes me up. So if this facility is open at 7 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I mean, noise is noise, right? Let's be fair.
But
I don't think
they're
it's 7
currently open
o'clock on
those hours
Saturday,
now.
just a moment.
On Saturday?
Yeah.
Mayor, I don't
It's
think
the
it's
same
7
hours
o'clock.
they're maintaining.
But without all the trucks.
They have the 50 trucks a day doing outdoor mulching.
Yeah.
So-
Anything else?
It's here, if you just give me a second.
Go ahead.
I have a couple things.
It says half-day on Saturday.
Correct.
First off, I want to say that how this meeting is run is at our direction, not theirs. They follow our orders. So the procedure that we follow has been established by us, not them. So I want to make that clear. And as Mr. Dasty had stated, I've read every part of that agreement more times than I care to. And I completely agree with it and confident that it's the best deal that we can get. We all have notes up here, too. As you're asking questions, we're writing it down to make sure that they're going to answer everything that you're saying. I just about crossed off most of mine. The trucks have been addressed as far as size goes. Did anybody address the issue of the back taxes that was brought up?
We did, they're current.
Okay, we know that. How about the DEP violations that were brought up? Matt?
So the township doesn't have any jurisdiction over any violations of the state. Those are obviously state law violations if they exist, not township ordinance or anything like that. I imagine DEP approval is included, and they'll have to be in compliance to get that.
Sure that if directed, someone from the township can call the DEP tomorrow and find out what's going on, and if so, why are the violations still continuing? That has nothing to do with this.
The thing that bothers me about all of this is that if we don't do a settlement, we have no say in this stuff. And from what I've understand from Mr. Dasty is that the judge is starting to get a little impatient about this, and we're
Yes,
there.
yes, sir.
And I'm going to say one last thing. There's been some great points brought out tonight. There's been some points that are the direct result of you believing what you're reading on social media. Okay? I want you to understand that. And that goes for the transfer station, and that goes for the EMS, too. All right? We have people out there that are feeding you nonsense, right? I want you to understand that. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Do you have anything to say about what's being discussed?
Well, I have a question, but I have
If
no...
it's a question about
yeah.
this, go ahead.
Yes. According to the concept layout that's on the screen presently, How many trucks could queue until they reach their necessary location
Capacity?
to unload? Approximately. I realize some trucks are 20 feet, some may be 28 feet. But, I mean, I think that there might be a misconception that trucks are piling up on the road.
Correct, yeah.
And it looks like there is also space within the project that could accommodate some trucks, as well as when anything is built, typically, there is concern about the roadway that's in front or adjacent to the location, and they have the shoulder widened, they have another lane. This isn't the type of thing anywhere in Howell where we have, 2 lanes and no place for a car to go or a truck to go. I mean, there is safety issues, which would say, they can come off on the lane and wait. They get into the project and they're queuing. More than 2 trucks looks like they can get it, that could be comfortable, maybe 10. I'm guessing. I want people to understand that this is not unlike other projects, that consideration's given to the adjacent roadways as well as the interior of the project. So, trucks could be waiting inside, correct?
Yeah, it's a very good question. This facility, you get weighed on a scale, you dump, you leave. This is not a high queuing type of facility, but I was just told that even if there were an instance where they're queuing, they can queue up to 20 trucks on the site itself. So we do not anticipate any trucks on the roadways at all. It's in, weighed, dump, out.
How long does that process take?
5-10 minutes.
When these trucks are traveling, if whatever you have in them will extend above the top, they will be covered?
I don't know the answer to that.
Well, that is the statute.
Yeah, I'm not a trucker, I'm a lawyer, but he said that they will be covered.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying it takes approximately 10 minutes to come in, weigh, dump, and leave?
Go ahead, Bernie, why don't you, since you're the expert.
Right, so as the trucks are coming in, they are entering into that first entry drive right over there. They have the ability, there's 20 to 25 trucks, if at max at that time, can queue along that drive path that then comes along where the lattice tower and monopoles are for the JCP&L, as they get weighed in those stations where right in that area. They'll come in, their items, their trucks will be weighed. Once they've moved that process, they'll be backing into that indoor structure, the 36,000 square foot building, where they will drop their product and then exit the site through that other terminus. There, they will be able to make the left turn back out to 547. Max, I think that whole process should take maybe within 30 minutes
30
of them.
minutes, not 10
Yeah,
minutes.
I thought the question, so misunderstanding that first question of the actual wait time, but the whole process of the trucks coming in, dumping their load inside the building, and then exiting.
Is that including the time that it takes them to pay as well?
So some may be dealing on an account type basis, but then they could either pay within the office or will have a billing system of directly to them.
Thank you. I don't think I've served on planning and zoning, and I've never heard of an application ever come in that told me that 25 trucks could be inside their location waiting, not lining up down a road, so that's sizable.
The initial design of this project, as again, that roadway that's coming in was particularly designed to allow the trucks to queue on the property, not on Randolph Road. So as they come in, there is not a regular drive path. If people are coming into the office, there's that middle drive path that allows people that are coming into the office, but otherwise, those trucks, it's a two-lane road that's only going one way to the weigh scales.
I just think the diagram doesn't do a service to the ability of the queuing, and, you know, it's much more substantial than just looking at it. You might think, oh, how could that be? You know, where would they wait? It's quite a
But
project.
you could see
so,
there that
yeah.
they are waiting on, they're queuing on the property, not on Randolph.
Agreed. That's an excellent opportunity of good planning, and that's certainly what would be needed there.
So, just to go back, you're saying that it takes approximately 30 minutes for one truck to go through the process.
Yeah,
So if there are 20 to 25 trucks waiting,
So the whole process may more streamlined once trucks are coming in, they're dumping, and they're moving out. It could be under that amount of time. And we're talking about a peak moment when we're getting in that many vehicles in there. We're not anticipating that, but the process could, when items are coming in like that, we'll have staff that'll be on site in order to handle any influx of additional material that is coming in at that time.
and the size of the trucks that are going from here with whatever debris they're bringing to another location?
So they'll be exiting at the end of the day. That's not a part of it. They'll be exiting at the end of the day to a final destination.
Okay.
At this point, we don't know. But they're not coming and going throughout the day.
Thank you.
Joe, I have one question for you. Technically, this presentation that we put on tonight was done to inform the public, but as it stood, it wasn't necessary for us to do it or required.
No. So you don't have to. I think it's good optics, and I think it's good to give everybody an overview of it. But again, the point of this meeting is for council to transact business. And that's what we're here to do. So, I think it's always good with something that is a larger issue to make the public aware, but no, you guys are the ones who ultimately vote on this.
The traffic currently in the morning and in the afternoon is horrific. Currently, I live right there. So to add all these additional trucks, I think it's going to cause more issue in the area, one. Two, I don't see how, and I mean no disrespect to my police department, but they're not there every minute of every day.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. You said you live down by Randolph Road?
No.
Oh, I thought that's what you said.
By the light,
Okay.
before the light. No, not on Randolph.
Okay.
No, I live off Old Tavern.
I think a lot of the issue with the queuing right now with traffic is especially the left turn from Randolph onto 547, and that sometimes blocks your view of even being able to make that right turn. The traffic light's going to assist with that. The traffic light's going to be stopping traffic on 547. I mean, there was a resident that spoke how it just zooms all day long at the end of Randolph Road, and you never get a break. The traffic light's going to put a red light there, and it's going to give you a break. So
Yeah.
that traffic will have the opportunity to make a faster left, an easier right, and it's definitely an improvement.
And it is a fair assessment, to your point, that traffic there is difficult. That's why it's a failed intersection. I mean, it fails. There's warrants for the signalization of it. And if they weren't doing it, we would probably be looking at doing it very soon because it's a failed intersection.
May I
I wanna make
add
sure
on to
that-
that? Can I piggyback on what Mr. Clark just said? First of all, we can't table this. Tomorrow, the judge can make a decision, and on her terms or his terms, and then we'd have no say. you mentioned the traffic signal. We found out by being here that a traffic signal costs over $1 million. So a resident had asked, what would we do with this money? A traffic light alone will cost the township $1 million. We would be finally getting a traffic signal there, correct?
Correct.
Okay. We want tax relief. We need to generate revenue. We don't want warehouses. I'm grateful for Betty, who came up. The residents of Victory Road finally realized we're on their side. We don't want warehouses. But we have to be realistic. We need to generate revenue. And like Mr. Dasty explained, if we table this, we will have no say, and we will not be able to help Howell in any way. So we can't table this. We have to do this. We want tax relief. It's great to see this crowd. I'd love to see this crowd go to the school board, because that's where most of our taxes go. So we're trying to do our best here. And for the residents who think we were just seeing this for the first time, I can speak for a few of us here, for several of us here. We've been talking about this for months. So it's almost offensive. I'm not going to, it takes a lot to offend me, but we've been talking to Mr. Clark, Mr. Dasty, Ms. Harney, Mr. Howard. We email, we call, we have meetings, we talk. We weren't just given this tonight. So please, I hope the public, you guys elected us, we take this job very seriously. As far as the way the meetings run, I'd like to add on to what Councilman Gager said. From day one, all 5 of us agreed that we needed to bring decorum back to our township, to our meetings. And I'm glad we recessed. We needed to regroup. And we understand the residents can be upset and have questions. And we listen. Someone accused us of looking like deer in headlights. Well, we're looking at you. We're listening to you. We are taking notes, and we make sure our professionals get back to you with answers. As far as the EMS, we don't know why you're here. It's nice to see you. We want you here. Same with the police, which is why we need to generate revenue so we can keep you here. And we do not want to balance bill our residents. We don't want that. So again, Facebook, I'm glad I have my flip phone. People laugh at my flip phone, but I can't do Facebook from my flip phone. It's not good. A resident, very aggressive resident, came up very angry tonight. It's funny because Councilman Gager and I took her to breakfast last year. We are available to talk to you all the time. Email us. If we can't answer the question, Mr. Clark, Mr. Howard, can you guys answer this question, please? We, from day one, and I'm looking at Councilman Gager because he's the best at this. Councilwoman O'Donnell has been here for 8 years. Deputy Mayor Nadell, we have made ourselves available on so many different levels. So please know that if you didn't know that before. Thank you.
I'll just jump in with what Councilwoman Fisher was just saying. If you want to have discussions with us and converse and talk about issues for longer than your allotted 5 minutes, email, give us a call. We'll set something up. We'll meet in person. We'll have these conversations with you, but when we're at the meetings, it's to do business. We can't have full-on discussions. Right now, it's approaching 10 o'clock at night, and we weren't going back and forth. It was just everyone coming up, making public comment. So this isn't the time or place to have full-on discussions about every issue in town. We have other time to schedule you guys for that. We have no problem meeting with residents or talking to them. I also met with Ms. Rivas last year when she wanted to discuss an issue. So, like Councilwoman Fisher said, it's not right to paint us that we don't want to talk to the people. We do, but this isn't necessarily the time or the place to do it.
To piggyback on Councilwoman Fisher, it might have gotten lost in the beginning of the presentation. The default host community benefit fee is 50 cents. We're at $5. It's 10 times. So when we're talking $950,000, $1 million here and there, take a zero off of that and have the same project built. Doesn't help us improve the infrastructure, doesn't help us give property tax relief to the residents.
Couple other things too. We don't get the signal, right? So they'll pay their pro rata share for the extra trucks that'll be put onto the street. So guess who gets to foot that bill? And two more things. First, somebody had asked about Captain Mazzio and OEM. Part-time for now, we're going to look to whether or not it warrants. I don't think with the pandemic being over, it's necessary to have a full-time OEM person, but we will see how it works out. And in terms of EMS, we can't talk about a lot of it, but we are in negotiations with the union representing our EMS. Are we going out to bid? We are always thinking about going out to bid if it benefits the taxpayers. So there's the operative issue, right? Will it benefit the taxpayers? There's a lot of metrics built into it. It's not just bottom line, balance billing, what's going to be the best financially. We want to look at things like response time and anything else that we might be able to glean from looking at other towns that have gone out to bid. It may not work. It might. But the one thing that we always do in every single bidding package is we reserve the right to reject every bid that comes in. So there is always protection, and there is always ways that we can work together. And one of the ways we're doing that is we're meeting with the union next week to continue our negotiations. So there's nothing on the agenda for tonight, there's nothing on the agenda for the future, but is it something that could happen? Anything can happen. It's just a question of what's best for the residents and the taxpayers.
It's tiresome to keep telling the audience it is not time to speak. I don't know how else we can say this. It is not a back and forth. Right now, our professionals and our governing body is speaking. It is not time for residents to speak.
Mayor, if I could just say one more time, and I don't mean to beat this dead horse, but I think the council's aware of this, and I want to make sure the public is aware of it. There's been questions tonight, legitimate questions, both from the public as well as the council, about the concept, queuing, left-hand turn, all that, and it's all good questions. But you're not voting tonight, and you're never going to vote on whether there should be a transfer station here. All you're voting on tonight is if they go through the county and get approved, if they go to the DEP and get approved. What's the best deal for the township? That's all you're voting on. Assuming you vote yes in favor of that resolution, it doesn't mean you're voting for the transfer station, but what you're doing is getting the best deal you can, certainly better than what was being suggested 6 or 7 years ago. So that's something that everyone should keep in mind. Thank you.
Do we want a motion to close?
To close the portion. May I have a motion to close I guess it's this section. It's not public, but it's our conversation. Can I have a motion to close?
Motion to close.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, at this time, I would like to have a motion on resolutions R24-51, and it goes all the way down to 67. I respectfully request to vote separately on 62 and 67.
Sorry, I just want to see 62.
62.
62, what?
I had a question about that.
Sure, and just for everybody's knowledge, we only need one member of the governing body to ask to vote on them separately, so we will vote on those two items separately and not on the consent agenda. But if you have a question, Mayor.
Our statute says that we are allowed 3 captains, and at this point, we have 4. And I would like to know why we are out of compliance.
Mayor, I believe you're talking about our township ordinance allowing.
Yeah.
Okay, so our township ordinance right now has 3 police captains. Right now, we have 3 active and 1 inactive police captain. So for staffing purposes, right now, we have an additional captain who's an acting captain. And I think now we move on to voting on the consent agenda with the
We need a
two that are
motion?
pulled.
May I have a motion for resolutions R51 through 61, excluding 62, 63 to 66, excluding 67?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolutions R2451 through R2461, excluding R2462, accepting R2463 through R2466, excluding R2467.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I would second that motion with R2460, inserting the name of Officer McBride.
Thank you. Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The consent resolutions pass.
May I have a motion for R2462?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution R2462.
Second?
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
No.
The resolution passes.
May I have a resolution for R2467?
I'd like to make a motion to accept resolution R2467.
I'll second that motion.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger? Thank you. The consent resolution passes.
Vote. I didn't vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said,
I did vote.
okay.
Evelyn O'Donnell voted for me, actually.
I presumed based on what you've said.
So, you know, I am voting no.
Thank you. The resolution passes.
Yeah. I didn't drink out of that bottle.
All right.
Okay, at this point, thank you. At this point, is there any other comments needed from the professionals to be discussed at this point?
I think we've all said enough.
I think so. So at this point, is there any unfinished business?
No, ma'am.
I don't know ordinances, right?
Yeah, we have the introduction of ordinances,
That's-
but we don't have the adoption of any ordinances at this time.
So there is no unfinished business?
Yeah, we can go to the introduction.
So I would like to, I'll read it. Ordinance 024-01, an ordinance of the Township of Howell changing the zoning of certain properties within the Township of Howell to zoning designation Special Economic Development 1 or SED 1, and other properties to our Agricultural Rural Estate 6, ARE 6 zone. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance.
No, to introduce.
I will make a motion to introduce ordinance 2401.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is properly introduced.
Ordinance 0-24-02. Ordinance amending the Chapter 131 of the Township Code, Emergency Management, to be consistent with the state statute. How long has this been in existence before we made it consistent with the state statute?
Our prior ordinance, we had the ability to narrowly construe it. Now we are matching the state statute. So I don't know how long it's been in effect. It was legal before. We're just matching it word for what the state statute is now.
May I have a motion for 0-24-02?
Motion to introduce ordinance 2402.
Second.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yes.
Councilman Gager?
Yes.
Councilwoman O'Donnell?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Nadell?
Yes.
Mayor Berger?
Yes.
Thank you. The ordinance is properly introduced.
Meeting dates, February 6th, 2024 at 5 PM. There will be a
Oh,
reorg.
excuse me, 6 PM, my error.
A reorg of the council meeting?
No, that's my error. The next meeting is February 6th at 6 PM. That was my error. I
Oh, so just
apologize.
the whole- Oh, I
I'm
was
tired.
reading it off the... Okay.
February 6th.
Yeah, February 6th is our next scheduled meeting at 6 PM if there is executive, and 7 for regular session.
Thank you.
At this point, everybody have a wonderful evening,
Motion to adjourn?
and I would take, thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
February 6th, the Chamber of Commerce is doing a luncheon too with Lawrence.
Oh, okay.